Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you all for tuning in. So tonight I want to go over the songs that I think should have been singles. This time we're going to focus on my favorite band of all time, that is Bon Jovi. And John himself has mentioned and stated over the years that he's not the best at picking out what songs should be on albums and what songs should be singles. And I think the best example of that would be the fact that if it was left up to John himself, Living on a Prayer would not have made Slippery When Wet. That song, of course, went on to be their biggest hit of their career. So I think there's plenty of other chances for hits that this band has had that they have sort of left on the table, and I want to go over what songs I think should have been singles from Bon Jovi. So most of my choices are on some of the later albums, the ones that I grew up with, Crush and onwards, but I got a few from the classic albums that I think should have been hits or should have been singles. And we're going to start off with this album right here, 7800 Degrees Fahrenheit. Now this album came out before Slippery When Wet, so they had some success with Runaway on the first album. They hadn't quite broken into superstardom like they would on Slippery. But this album right here, I think, has a really nice gem that could have been a pretty good radio hit for the band. The singles they chose for this album were Only Lonely, In and Out of Love, The Hardest Part Is the Night, and Silent Night. But there's a song on here, it's track number 2, The Price of Love. I think it would have been a perfect choice for a single, especially back in 1985. It sounds very much of the time. It's got that really big, catchy Bon Jovi chorus. I love the intro to the song, too, with the rolling drums. I mean, Tico, I don't think gets the love that he deserves sometimes, but he's a fantastic drummer. Richie's guitar riffs. I mean, it's just a super catchy 80s hair metal rock song. And I think it would have been a better choice for a single than everything they chose to release as a single from this album. Not that there's anything wrong with the songs they chose, but The Price of Love, I think, is a fantastic track. Sounds like it could have been a radio hit to me. I think it should have been a single off of 7800 Degrees Fahrenheit. Hard to argue with the songs that made singles off of this album. You Give Love a Bad Name, Living on a Prayer, Wanted Dead or Alive. Arguably the 3 biggest hits of the band's career right there. And then throw in Never Say Goodbye, which is also a pretty decent hit for him as well. But I think there's another song on here that was a radio hit, kind of lying in wait. Now, there's some fantastic album tracks on here as well to go along with all these hits. Let It Rock, Raise Your Hands, fantastic songs. I love the closer, Wild in the Streets is a lot of fun. But there's a song called Without Love, track 7. How in the world was that song not a single? It's just one of those perfect, not quite a ballad, not quite a hard rock song, just a mid-tempo, melodic rock track. It just sounds like it was made for the radio. It could have, I don't know. Sounds like it could have been right up there with, I don't know, saying that it's going to be up there with Wanted Dead or Alive and Bad Name and Prayer. That's pretty high expectations, but I think it could have been a solid hit for the guys. It's a song that, as much as I think it should have been a single, I'm actually kind of glad it wasn't, because it's not overplayed now. And it still sounds fresh whenever you go back and listen to this album. I mean, Bad Name, Prayer, Dead or Alive, you hear those all the time. Never Say Goodbye gets enough radio play that, you know, it's never been my favorite song, but it gets enough radio play that I'm sort of tired of it. But Without Love is just a really fresh track deep on this album, so I'm kind of glad it doesn't have that overplayed factor going on with it. But man, why was that overlooked as a single? Because I think it just sounds so perfect for the radio. All right, we're going to fast forward a couple albums to 1995's These Days. The songs that were selected to be singles on here: This Ain't a Love Song, Something for the Pain, Lie to Me, These Days, the title track, and Hey God. All pretty good choices for singles in my opinion. I'm not as crazy about This Ain't a Love Song as maybe some people are. It's a good song, but I do like Something for the Pain as a single. These Days, of course, is a brilliant song. Absolutely should have been a single. But there's a song deep on here that I think would have been a pretty good choice for a single as well. It's Hearts Breaking Even, the 9th song. I think it's just got everything going for it. Sonically, sounds like Bon Jovi, as does the These Days album. but thematically and in tone, it's much more akin to the time with the grunge and alternative acts coming up. It's a little darker, a little more downtrodden than the sort of cheery, upbeat nature of the hair band genre that Bon Jovi originated from. But Heartbreaking Even has just got great soulful guitar playing from Richie Sambora, incredible riffs. John's vocals are top notch, on fire. He sings his heart out in this song. I think it would have been a good choice for a single. I personally would have chosen it over Lie to Me. I think it's a little bit more radio friendly than Hey God. So I think Heartbreaking Even should have been right up there with Something for the Pain, maybe as the third or fourth single. Whether you want to throw it in there before that for these days, but I think it would have been a decent choice for a single. All right. Let me take a swig of my Mountain Dew, and let's move on to Crush. Year 2000. This is the album that brought me into the picture. I became a huge fan after hearing this album. Obviously, this is my favorite band of all time. I was a little late to the Crush party. It wasn't exactly in year 2000 that I jumped on board. It was actually in 2002, early 2002, a few months before Bounce came out. But I was introduced to this album and fell in love with it. The singles off this album were the first three songs. Can't argue with It's My Life. That's the obvious choice for the single, and they clearly got it right. It was a huge hit for them. It brought Bon Jovi yet again into another sort of era in music. Very few hair bands survived the transition to the 90s as well as Bon Jovi did. And now here they are again, sort of surviving into the 2000s with a smash hit like It's My Life. It's got everything you want. It's got that hard-hitting talk box riff from Richie Sambora. It's got the big blazing Bon Jovi chorus that gets stuck in your head. It's got Tommy and Gina. It's got everything you want in a good Bon Jovi song. Great choice for a first single. Can't argue with it. Arguably the band's biggest hit since Slippery When Wet. I mean, I say arguably because you could argue the hits on New Jersey as well, but It's My Life was a pretty big hit and still gets played a lot to this day. Second choice for a single on here was Say It Isn't So. I like Say It Isn't So. I think it's a good album track. It's a good follow-up to It's My Life, which hits you right out of the gate. It's big, it's bombastic, and then Say It Isn't So is just a decent album track. But I don't feel like it's a good choice for a single. It doesn't really have that big chorus. It doesn't really have the hooks that you would want to catch your attention on the radio. It's a good momentum track coming after It's My Life. I just don't think it stands on its own as well. I think the second choice for a single on this album should have been Captain Crash and the Beauty Queen from Mars. It's got a big chorus, plenty of pop hooks, just a perfect, catchy pop rock tune. I think I could have heard it being played on the radio back in 2000, 2001, 2002. It just, I don't know, kind of sounds like it could be a little bit more attention grabbing than Say It Isn't So. I think it stands on its own a little bit better than Say It Isn't So. And it's a great song. I love it. It's one of my favorite Bon Jovi songs, actually. The third choice on here was Thank You for Loving Me. Not their best ballad, in my opinion. Not the worst song on the album either, but again, I don't think it's a ballad that stands on its own that well. I think the third choice for a single on here should have been Just Older. Now, Just Older is kind of the follow-up track to Blood on Blood, which was a song off New Jersey that was not released as a single. It was a little bit more of a fan favorite. So I always kind of looked at Just Older as being a song that was a little bit more for the diehard fan than the casual listener. But if you're thinking about what songs would do good with radio play, what songs would grab people's attention, Just Older has a big chorus, very catchy. I love the bridge. It's got a big riff to it as well. I think it would have been perfect for radio play back in 2000. So I think those should have been the follow-up singles to It's My Life, Captain Crash, and Just Older. Let's move forward to Bounce 2002. The single choices on this album: Every Day, Misunderstood, Bounce, All About Loving You, and The Distance, which was only released in Japan as a single. Every Day is kind of the logical choice for a single. It kind of is the follow-up to It's My Life. It's very much in the same vein. It's kind of It's My Life 2.0. It's a good song. I like it. I don't like it as much as It's My Life, though. I can see why they chose it for the lead single. The second single, Misunderstood, is a really fun pop song. I think the song that should have been maybe the lead single is The Distance. Why in the world that was only released as a single in Japan, I do not know. But The Distance, I think, is a perfect song to lead this album off. It's a little bit of the best of both worlds. It's kind of ballady in the verses. It's got a big, heavy bridge, big, heavy guitar parts, huge chorus. It's just big. It's bombastic. It's ballady. I mean, it's just like a perfect combination of both. And I think it could have gotten some traction. I would have chosen The Distance to be the lead-off single. It's different than It's My Life, which is not a bad thing, I think. But, yeah, The Distance, I think, should have been the first single. And I even played the song. I was talking this very topic. I was discussing with a friend of mine who is not a Bon Jovi fan, by the way. And I had this CD playing in my car. And The Distance came on. And he kind of picked out, I think without me even saying anything, about how that song should have been a single. He thought it was a really catchy track. So right there you go. Someone who's not even a Bon Jovi fan picked that out as a song that should have been a single. And I wholeheartedly agree. The Distance should have led this album off. Otherwise, Every Day and Misunderstood, I think, are decent choices for singles. Those are probably the logical choices as well. So, but The Distance, I think, should have led this one off. All right, next up, Have a Nice Day, 2005. So, the first single from this was Have a Nice Day. Logical choice. Basically, it's My Life 3.0. I do like it better than Every Day. I think it stands on its own a little bit better than Every Day. Hits harder, big chorus, everything you want in a Bon Jovi song. Second choice for a single. And I don't remember this being the second choice, but according to Wikipedia, according to Wikipedia, this was the second single. I always thought it was Who Says You Can't Go Home. At least that's what I remember. But Welcome to Wherever You Are, I guess, was the second single. Unless Wikipedia is mistaken, which it could be. But I never cared for that as a single. It just doesn't sound big to me. It's just, and it's not really that catchy of a slower track either. It's a fine album song, but I would have never chosen it as a single. Who Says You Can't Go Home? Obvious choice for a single. It was a big song. Probably the last huge hit Bon Jovi had. They've had some hits since then, but I can't think of any that really got the traction Who Says You Can't Go Home did. Both the Sugarland version, which was the huge crossover hit, and the album version, which I still hear getting played on the radio today. Obvious choice. A few other songs in here that I think would have made decent singles. I Am, super catchy track, big chorus. I think could have been a pretty decent single. Sounds very 2005, 2006, which is, this album was released in September of 2005, so perfect for the time. Novocaine is another song that kind of feels very much like the time. Another catchy chorus. I think would have been a good choice for a single. And I'll give you another option. Not only should this song potentially have been a single, but the song should have made the damn album. How about Nothing? The track that, if you've never heard the song, you should go check it out. There's really no good, clean version of it out there on YouTube, but you can hear it on YouTube, kind of muffled, but it's a great song. It's a great Bon Jovi song. Should have made this album. They wound up giving the song to Bo Bice, I think. I should have looked that up. I think it was Bo Bice. And he recorded a version of it. It was good. Nothing against it. I like the Bon Jovi version better. And I don't know why they wouldn't have kept the song from themselves. It was amazing, and I think could have been a single for the album, let alone should have just made the album. So Nothing is another song that I think should have been on here and potentially been a single. Personally, I would have replaced it with Wildflower. That's just me, though. So right there you go. I think I Am, Novocaine, and Nothing were good single choices on here that didn't see the light of day. Let's move forward to 2007's Lost Highway. The singles off this album were Want to Make a Memory, the title track Lost Highway, Till We Ain't Strangers Anymore, Summertime, and Whole Lotta Leavin'. Summertime was only a single in Canada, though. And again, much like on The Distance off of Bounce, why in the world was that only a single in Canada? I love Summertime. It's a fun song. kind of rocking, kind of country-ish, I think it would have been perfect. This album was released in June. I think that single should have been released um, close to the release of the album. Maybe drop it in May. Maybe drop it when the album comes out in June. It's summertime. I mean, it would have been too perfect. Catchy tune, big chorus, hard-hitting riff at the beginning of the song, fun verses, catchy little guitar solo. I think it could have been a decent rock and or country hit, honestly. So I think Summertime should have absolutely been a single everywhere, not just in Canada. Otherwise, I think this album pretty much got it right. A whole lot of leavings, a great choice for a single. Lost Highway has grown on me. When it first came out, I was sort of on it, but I've grown to love that one. You Want to Make a Memory is a nice ballad as well. Might not have been my choice for a lead-off single, but, you know, it is what it is. The only one that I don't care for is Till We Ain't Strangers Anymore. I can't stand that song. It's my least favorite song on here. I think it's terrible, to be honest with you. Never been a big fan of it. I think the song should have been booted from the album for a song called Walk Like a Man. Again, if you've not heard it, go check it out on YouTube. It's out there. It's a far better song, and it really tugs at the heartstrings, too. It's a song about just kind of the circle of life, not trying to drop a Lion King reference on you, but the first verse is John talking about sort of leaving the nest and the advice that his dad gave him, and then come back in the second verse, and John's the father, and he sees his son sort of going through the same phase he went through, and then he starts hearing his dad and him, and I think it's a touching song. I've been there, you know, I've been 17, 18, ready to leave the nest, and now I'm a father. You know, my son's only 3, so I got a ways to go until the song sort of hits me that way, but I always thought it was a really tear-jerking song. Beautiful track. I don't know why it was cut from the album. I think it's far better than Till We Ain't Strangers, and I think it was good enough to be a single. I think it could have been a pretty decent country hit in 2007, so there you go. I think Summertime should have been a single everywhere, and I think Walk Like a Man not only should have made the album, but should have also been a single. Let's move on to 2009's The Circle. First single on this album was the lead-off track, We Weren't Born to Follow. We then had Superman Tonight and When We Were Beautiful. All 3 songs, I think, are decent choices for single. We Weren't Born to Follow is kind of the prototypical It's My Life type single. It just kind of falls in that same vein. It's my life, every day, have a nice day, we weren't born to follow. All kind of in the same vein there. So, kind of the standard lead-off single for a Bon Jovi album. Superman Tonight, big chorus in that song. Love the chorus. I think the chorus alone warrants that song being a single. When We Were Beautiful is a great song as well. I do think that Love's the Only Rule could have been a single. It's my favorite song on the album, always has been. Catchy tune, big chorus, nice atmospheric track. I think Love's the Only Rule would have also worked as a single off this one. All right, let's move forward to 2013 and the album What About Now. Only 2 singles off this one. The lead-off track, Because We Can, and the title track, What About Now. What About Now is a fine track. It's sort of the standard paint-by-numbers Bon Jovi song of the album. Because We Can, I have never been crazy about. I don't dislike it, but I don't love it either. Really, Richie's guitar solo or guitar hook that he plays right in the middle of the song and again at the end of the song, that alone bumps the song up a notch for me. Otherwise, the song has always just been sort of bland to me. So what would I have gone with as a single on here? I really don't know. I like this album a lot more than the average Bon Jovi fan does. I'm a pretty big defender of What About Now. I think it's a great album. But I don't know what I think I would have chosen for the single if I would have been tasked with picking the single, because I don't really hear any obvious choices on this one. But the more I thought about it, the 2 songs I would have picked to be singles, Pictures of You would have been my first choice. It's a big song. It's got a pretty catchy chorus, but the whole song just sounds big, and it just really feels like it's going somewhere and building towards something really fun. Drums really drive that song. That's an amazing Tico track. And the other song, which was a bonus track, and here we go again with the bonus tracks that should have been on the album, Into the Echo, super catchy track. I would have probably chosen that one to be a single. I think it should have absolutely replaced Thick as Thieves, which I don't like at all on the album. But I've always loved that. The first time I heard it, when I bought this album and I heard Into the Echo as a bonus track, I'm like, what were they thinking? Not including that on the actual album, especially when Thick as Thieves is there. Those would have been my two choices for a single. I really love the song I'm With You. I don't know that I feel it's a single. Same thing about That's What the Water Made Me. What's Left of Me. The Fighter. They're good songs. This one just doesn't have a lot of obvious singles to me, but I think if I were tasked with picking singles, Pictures of You and Into the Echo would have been my choices. All right, I'm not going to go over Burning Bridges for two reasons. One, there were only two singles, We Don't Run and Saturday Night Gave Me Sunday Morning. I think they were fine choices for singles. I don't really think there's any other obvious singles on Burning Bridges. As awesome as that album is, and there's some really good material on there, it's another album that I don't think really has any obvious, this should have been a single, on it. I think they did a fine job picking the two songs that they did. So we're going to fast forward to 2016's This House Is Not For Sale. And the title track, This House Is Not For Sale, was the leadoff single, and rightfully so. I think it kind of fits that same, It's My Life, Every Day, Have a Nice Day, We Weren't Born to Follow, Because We Can, This House Is Not For Sale. It's kind of in that same vein. I think this is the best leadoff song and leadoff single, at least since Have a Nice Day. I would even go back farther than that. I love the title track, This House Is Not For Sale. Loved it the first time I heard it. I love it even more today. Great choice for a single. It's just a standard big chorus rock Bon Jovi song. I still hear the song on the radio from time to time too, so it's kind of funny. I don't think of it as being like this huge hit, but I do hear it out there. The second and third choice for a single, I don't care for. Knockout and Labor of Love. They're two of my least favorite tracks on the album. I feel like they dropped the ball. Knockout was like, I think I understand what they were trying to do with that song. They're trying to make this sort of big, anthemic boxing track. It's a very modern sounding song. It sounds, you know what? I'm just going to tell you what song I think should have been the single, because I think it pulls off what Knockout was trying to do even better than Knockout does, and it's Roller Coaster. So Roller Coaster is not as big and anthemic as Knockout is. It's got a slower verse, so it's kind of a slow song in the beginning, but when the chorus hits, it hits. And that chorus is big, huge, atmospheric. It sounds very fresh and very modern, but it excuse me. I still got like a tickle in the back of my throat. I'm getting over a cold, so if I'm coughing or whatnot, that's why. But it's very modern sounding, very mid 2010s, very fresh, but still sounds like a Bon Jovi song. It's just the perfect combination of the two. The chorus, I think, is a better, harder hitting chorus, even though the verses are very soft and kind of subdued in a way. But I love the way that the verses and the chorus interact in the song. I think the lyrics are better because, like, Knockout just has that one line that kind of makes me quiver a little bit about the finger sticking out your chin. It's just one of those songs. It's like, and then that song gets chosen for a single. But that's one of those lines that just makes me like shudder. Yeah, I think Roller Coaster was a nice choice for a single, just kind of lying there and wait. Born Again Tomorrow was also a single on this album, and I think it should have been a single as well. I think it maybe should have been promoted a little more, because much like Roller Coaster, Born Again Tomorrow is very fresh sounding. It sounds like Bon Jovi, but it also sounds new and fresh and exciting. It's got a big riff to it. The chorus, it's big, but it's also played differently. There's parts of the song where the chorus is sort of slowed down, and there's parts where the chorus really hits hard. So they sort of change it up. The songwriting is structured a little bit differently. Phil X's guitar solo, it's one of my favorites from him. Now that Phil X has been a member of the band now for 11 years, it's like he doesn't really get too many moments to really shine, but I do like his solo in Born Again Tomorrow. So I think Roller Coaster should have absolutely been the follow-up to This House Is Not For Sale, and I think Born Again Tomorrow should have had a little bit more promotion behind it. Those would have been my choices on this one. So I didn't bring 2020 because, much like Burning Bridges, I don't know what I would have picked. I think Limitless is the logical choice for a single, even though I don't really like it. Do What You Can, I think, obviously, is another logical choice. Story of Love was a single as well. 2020 is my least favorite Bon Jovi album, so I don't know. But we'll see when Forever drops. We'll see if Legendary was the right choice for the lead single, or if there's some songs on there that would have been better suited for that honor. So let me know in the comments below. What singles do you think Bon Jovi have missed? What songs do you think are kind of laying there in their discography that could have been hits? What single choices do you think were maybe mistakes? So I'd love to hear your feedback on that. If you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this in the future. And I will catch you next time.